Hi, this is Anna Bevan Gravely with NCFREE, and I am joined by Grace Styers, who is running for Court of Appeals in the fall of 2020 and currently in the campaign process right now. Grace, before we get started, is there anything that you would like to share with our members?
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you virtually. It's difficult during an epidemic to try to campaign. I would much prefer to have a chance to talk with you in person, but I'm glad we have this opportunity. I have lived in North Carolina my whole life. I was born and raised in Hickory, North Carolina. I did my undergraduate work at Wake Forest and then received my law degree and my MBA degree from the Keenan Flagler Business School at UNC Chapel Hill. I've been practicing law for 30 years. I started my career as a clerk for Judge Sam J. Ervin III on the United States Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit. Since then, I have worked in private practice in Raleigh, been with large firms, small firms. I actually hung out my shingle and started my own practice for many years. So I know what it's like to have to make payroll, pay utilities, and hope to have a little cash left at the end of the month. So I have been a small businessman myself. I'm now with a national law firm based out of Philadelphia, Fox Rothschild, and I'm co-chair of their Energy and Natural Resources Practice Group nationally. So I'm excited to have this opportunity and look forward to the questions.
Awesome, awesome. So which one of the current or recent U.S. Supreme Court justices best reflects your judicial philosophy?
Now, because I believe each of them contribute in different ways to the jurisprudence of the Supreme Court, and on a given case or a given issue, I may agree or disagree with any one of them. You know, I don't think I can pick one as a generality. I also remember something that Judge Ervin told us when I was clerking for him on the Court of Appeals, an observation he made about an intermediate Court of Appeals versus the Supreme Court. He said that the role of an intermediate court, and again, I was working with him and when he was Chief Judge of the Fourth Circuit, he said, our role is to decide the cases before us and to make sure the law is followed correctly. It's not our role to make sweeping constitutional pronouncements. We'll leave that to the Supremes, is what he would tell us. So likewise, I think in the Court of Appeals, our role is to make sure the law is followed, that precedent is recognized, the law is consistent, and so people can rely on it over a course of decisions over time, and not to make the law or sweeping pronouncements. So I'm not so sure it's really applicable to what we'll do in the Court of Appeals. And given the fact that there's different judges that I like in different respects, and I'm a judge once I'm on the court, it's hard for me to pick just one.
Yeah, yeah. How would you describe your judicial philosophy?
For 30 years, I've represented businesses and clients around the state, pretty much every corner of North Carolina. And during that time, I've seen my role as basically a problem solver, helping them solve problems, achieve the business goals that they have, and so I think I have to this date in my law practice been very much a pragmatist. What works? Likewise, Judge Ervin wasn't perhaps as quotable as his famous father, Senator Sam Ervin, but I'll toss out one more quote that Judge Ervin used to tell me when I was clerking for him, which was that, our cases are about real people with real problems, not about abstract legal theories, and that our decisions have real consequences. So I also think that looking at cases in that way, and make sure that you understand the consequences and the human element of the case. Again, I said earlier, I think it's important that the courts decide cases impartially and fairly without regard to any particular ideology, that there's respect for established legal precedent that provides consistency over time, and that we uphold the protections of the Constitution and the role of the court. And that would be what I would seek to do if elected to the Court of Appeals.
Yeah, yeah. What would you say are the key principles of free enterprise?
Well, as I said earlier, I received my master's in business administration from the Keenan Flagler School of Business and
Mhm.
took 2 semesters of economics as an undergraduate and 2 semesters in graduate school. I have hung out my shingle and had my own law firm, Styers, Mitchell, which I understood what was involved in the difficult process of managing your own business.
Mhm.
You know, to kind of summarize, my understanding and my belief is that in a competitive market with sufficient number of buyers and sellers, the free enterprise system will allow those buyers and sellers to agree on a price that reflects lowest marginal cost and a fair profit. And that provides incentives for innovation and efficiencies. And I believe competition works to drive those benefits of of innovation and
Mhm.
efficiencies.
Mhm.
I also recognize that technological changes or market disruptors can change market structures. Back in the 1990s, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission issued uh, Order 636, which opened up the markets for wholesale natural gas, um, which created opportunities. And I was in the forefront in the 1990s of helping drive competition for natural gas supply for large industries in North Carolina.
Mhm.
Also in the late 90s, the Act of 1996 created competition in the telecommunications arena. And I worked with the telecommunications industry, and especially with the rise of wireless telecom to provide greater customer choices.
Mhm.
In the last 10 years, I've been involved a lot with the renewable energy industry and finding alternatives and competition in the generation. Even though we still have a monopoly for energy transmission and distribution, there are more alternatives for generation. And I've worked with that industry looking at solar as well as biomass using poultry waste and swine waste resources. So I've seen the benefits of competition. I've helped my clients achieve those benefits. And so I think I have a good understanding of how the free enterprise system works, both academically from my studies, as well as from my practice.
Mhm. Yeah. What are some activities that you did in college and in law school?
Well, I was very fortunate to have received a Carswell Scholarship to attend Wake Forest as an
Mhm.
undergraduate. It was a great time to attend the UNC Law School and Business School as an in-state tuition. I was fortunate in that respect. The summers that I had, one summer I worked in my hometown of Hickory as a bank teller at what was then Northwestern National Bank. It was based in North Wilkesboro. A lot of folks may remember it from back then. It later folded into, I believe, First Union and then Wachovia and now Wells Fargo. But I actually worked as a bank teller one summer. I
Mhm.
also worked on Capitol Hill for Congressman James T. Broyhill. He was the representative from the 10th Congressional District. He was from Lenore, and I, again,
Mhm.
was from Hickory. And I worked on Capitol Hill for Congressman Broyhill. Phil Kirk was his chief of staff at the time, and I had a desk in the corner of Phil Kirk's office in Washington. I've always been interested in government and in policy. I also worked as an intern in the North Carolina Department of Commerce Small Business Division
Mhm.
and serving as an ombudsman for businesses looking for help navigating state government programs and so forth. And I
Mhm.
worked in the Department of Commerce. So those were some of the things I did during my summers when I was an undergraduate. And then in law school, one summer I worked for the Xerox Corporation at their headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut. And it was an interesting experience having worked with small businesses and local businesses to actually work in the headquarters of what at that time I think was a Fortune 100 company at their headquarters in Connecticut with Xerox.
Mhm.
Then I worked at law firms in Atlanta and here in North Carolina. So I've always enjoyed the outdoors. I've enjoyed hiking and have been very active as a conservationist and camping, and that was one of my hobbies. And I played intramural basketball and softball when I was in school as well.
Cool. I played softball in college for a little while, so I love the sport. It's great. And so what would you say is your greatest accomplishment in your professional career and then in your personal life?
You know, I have had such a great career practicing law for 30 years. Um, you know, it was a hard decision to think about the possibility of running for the courts, um, knowing that I've enjoyed practicing law,
Mm-hmm.
and I've enjoyed my clients, and I've enjoyed what I've been able to do for my clients. And it's almost impossible to pick one. I talked a little bit about my work in the natural gas industries. Um, we were approached by three entrepreneurs in the early 90s who wanted to extend a natural gas distribution system into northwestern North Carolina. And it looked like an easy process at the time, but it took about 3 years and a decision by the North Carolina Supreme Court to accomplish that. And that system was built providing natural gas service to 6 counties and 7 counties in North Carolina that previously did not have that. And I was kind of shepherded that process through the regulatory approvals, through the court system, the appellate courts that we won at each level, and then was at the groundbreaking and the ribbon cutting of that company. And to work with those entrepreneurs to see that system built and the economic development benefits of that to those rural parts of the state was extremely rewarding. Likewise, I talked about my work in telecommunications. I remember sitting around folding tables with a group of engineers in the mid-90s who said, you know, we're at the cusp of a revolution in wireless telephone service. Someday we'll be able to have little devices that we'll carry around that will allow us to check our sports scores and our stock prices and communicate with each other everywhere we go. And it sounded almost like Star Trek futurism at the time. But they said, we're going to need a lot of infrastructure for this system to work. And I handled the zoning for the very first tower in the state of North Carolina and hundreds after that throughout the country, quite frankly, working with the wireless telecommunications industry, so that we have the connectivity that we have today with our phones and our wireless devices. That was extremely rewarding. I have always believed in education and the importance of education for economic development, and I was an attorney that filed an amicus brief in the Leandro education decision on behalf of the Eastern North Carolina Chamber of Commerce, which was a group of businesses in the East that were trying to help rural areas of the state from an economic development perspective. And they hired me to intervene and to file a brief in the Leandro decision to talk about the benefits of education and workforce development for economic development in North Carolina, and especially rural North Carolina. And it was great to be a part of the team in the Leandro case. Again, I've enjoyed my work with the renewable energy industry, and seeing its growth in the last 10 years here in North Carolina has been exciting. And most recently, I had a case involving the Fayetteville Public Works Commission that, you know, resolved an ongoing dispute of its finances and assets that had been going on for 50 years. We'll resolve that. It was a difficult struggle, but we were successfully able to find a solution that provided stability for the Fayetteville Public Works Commission in its budgeting and finances. So I've had some great cases that I've worked on, some great clients, and those are just some of the highlights.
Yeah.
In my personal life, I would just say that, you know, seeing my wonderful wife marrying me 30 years ago has got to be one of the highlights. We've been together for 30 years. We met in MBA school. At MBA school, if you have been to business school, you know there's a lot of group projects or group assignments to kind of teach you to work together as visitors and collaborate. And she and I were placed together in the same group assignment in our integrative management class in our first year in MBA school. Then we worked together in MBA school. I then started dating. I've been married for 30 years. I have 2 wonderful children, and certainly raising them has been a challenge, but also an accomplishment that I'm very proud of. So certainly my family is what I would say is probably my greatest accomplishment in my personal life.
Yeah, awesome. What is your vision for the future of our judiciary system? What changes would you advocate and why?
Well, I have been active in the Bar Association and looking at the administration of justice, preserving the rule of law, judicial performance evaluations as a member of the Board of Governors of the North Carolina Bar Association. So that interest, that background, that passion is what's leading me to run for judge. Because I do think that the courts are such a crucial component of an ordered society that we live in and depend upon. I do worry that our courts can be viewed as being ideological or partisan or beholden to a particular special interest. So it's my vision of the courts and my hope that the courts will remain viewed and respected as being independent, following the rule of law, and treating everyone fairly that comes before them. You know, I think that ultimately is the hallmark of a well-functioning judicial system, and that would be kind of the guiding stars of what I would want the judicial to always be viewed as independent, impartial, fair, and not beholden to any ideology. I do think, as far as things that would be changing, I think that this COVID-19 period has shown how what the challenges and opportunities of technology are. I mean, we're having this interview virtually through technology that we would not have used before. I think the courts should look about how to use technology to be more efficient and to be more transparent. So I think that a lot of people sometimes don't understand what the courts do, and perhaps feel that the courts are somehow biased because it is not a very transparent system. I think technology can help in that regard. And finally, I'll say, you know, it is essential for everyone who comes before a judge or comes to court to feel like that they are being treated equally and fairly. And I think that there are segments of our population that don't feel like the courts have treated them fairly. They feel like and biases. But our state Supreme Court, we have a lot of people talk about the federal Supreme Court and the federal judiciary, but our state Supreme Court says that the court shall provide equal protection to all people, regardless of race or gender or national origin or color, status, wealth. They all should be treated exactly the same. And it's crucial that our courts function in that manner. And that would be my vision for the court system.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for this time. I've really enjoyed hearing more about your background and your perspectives. Where can our members go to learn more about you?
Certainly. My campaign website is www.styersforjudge.com. So I would encourage you to tune in to go to that website. It's got more information about my background, about why I'm running, by who is endorsing me. So it's Styers.com. Because I haven't been able, some of my remarks such as this, and those videos are on YouTube at my YouTube channel, Styers for Judge. So if you go to YouTube channel, you can hear, again, me talk more about my background, my vision for the courts, my judicial philosophy. You could find that there as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this. So good luck. Have a great rest of the day. And hopefully the election season will be a fun and interesting one.
Thank you so much, Anna. I've enjoyed the conversation, enjoyed this opportunity, and enjoyed to continue the dialogue and reaching out to more of you as the election season progresses. Thanks again.
Bye.